Bop. Hey everyone, what's happening? How be it going? Bop. I just turned on ESO early to try and deal with any issues. Hopefully that helps. Hey, what's happening? I made popcorn. I like popcorn as a snack. How are you, RGR? I'm doing well. Also, wait, I'm sorry. Mike from PA and Hunter Avalon are debating. Can I have the linky? Give me the linky. I'm actually interested. How do you season your popcorn? So I air pop it. And then I put black pepper, ground black pepper, salt, and garlic powder on it. And sometimes cayenne if I want like a little bit spicier. But yeah. So it's like generally, I mean, it's pretty healthy as far as snacks go. I don't use butter. Yeah, what the fuck has been happening? I'm sorry. All right. Thank you for adhering to Rule 9. But now I am here, and I don't spend my time on Twitter. Or I'm trying to not spend as much time on Twitter, so fill me in. Just a YouTube stream with Hunter and Mike. So what exactly is like, what's going on with Mike from PA nowadays? I see a lot of people talking about him lately on Twitter. Like, fill me in. Not familiar with the discourse. Convey to me the information. In the meanwhile, Bop. Oh, and also, Pixie, if you're watching, I have no idea what the fuck happened. Streamlabs just decided, oh, we're gonna close now. I think, are we still good? Is everything like, are all the VODs still? Okay, it seems like they're decent. Y'all let me know. Make sure, what about Twitter? All right, Twitter had a restart. Oh wait, what the fuck? Discord is... Why is Discord spazzing out? All right, hold on. Yeah, Discord is having one, it seems. The behind the scenes, whatever. That's crazy. I don't think that's ever... I mean, like, Streamlabs is sometimes closed. But I just cleaned up it, like, a lot of stuff on my computer. So that's surprising that that happened. Hey, there we go. All right, we're back. Hey, everyone. Sorry. Mike called out Hunter and some of Hunter's older stuff, so they had a shouting match. Oh, great. Yeah, literally. I don't know. I think it's really fucking stupid to criticize someone for something that they said a while ago, when it's pretty clearly obvious that they've moved away from those positions. Like the whole thing with Calvin, right? Like... So yeah, I don't know. It sounds stupid as fuck, but yeah. Or... I don't know. Is it ableist to call things stupid? I don't know. It sounds like a weird and non-productive discourse. Mike is literally just doing it because Hunter is cool with Destiny. Wait, does that mean that Mike is gonna try and come for me? Oh no. Oh no. Whatever shall I do? I like this popcorn. Hey, Pixie. Anyway, okay. And try and go back to the video game. Oh, and also let's get some musics. Hi, new here. Hey, nice. Not gonna lie, no clue who Mike is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm at the point now where it's like, I'm familiar with a lot of the people just by virtue of being in the space, but, I mean, it's not like he's relevant. But then again, people could make an argument that I'm not that relevant, which, fair. Grifting pseudo-tanky? I don't know what the fuck his politics are. I just know that if you don't know what sewer socialism is, then he laughs at you like you're the Joker. Or like he's the Joker. Sorry. What's a tiff? Yeah, exactly. Computer, I just cleaned you up a lot. Why are you going slow? At least it's just the game. My camera, everything is fine. Oh yeah, big Bad Bunny simp. I don't know. I remember there was like one time. You remember when I posted the thing about like the difference between Vosh and Destiny? Bad Bunny basically just retweeted like, lol, look at this loser who spends all of their time online. And I was like, oh, well, this is someone who seems like a non-toxic person to be around. And it's basically my only interaction with like Bad Bunny at this point. Yeah, some language is technically ableist, but only worth reasonably holding people to if they try to assert themselves as intentionally standards of wokeness, to emulate whatever, and criticize others for doing the same. It's not a generally reasonable standard to hold people to. It's just about consistency. It's something I'm working on myself because I'm pursuing accessibility professionally and I want to be super conscious of it. That makes sense. Bad Bunny said some very racist and biphobic things. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Anyway, alright. Bad Bunny literally just used Dylan's attempt as an excuse to virtue signal. Well, that was shitty. Again. Apparently we're having a night where my computer is just not letting me do ESO. That sucks. We might just have to move right into, what do you call it? Oh shit, thanks Pixie, I really appreciate it. But yeah, it might... Out of memory. It might just have to be the case that I close some of this. Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to work that out, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna try one more time to make ESO work, and if it doesn't, then we're moving on, fam. And we're giving up. Sorry, and that's it. God damn it, Comcast. Yeah, for real. We're gonna try one more time. It doesn't work. We're done. Oh, hey, what's happening, Go Colts? How you doing? I'm gonna be really pissed. Net neutrality coming for your leftists. Yeah, true. I think this has to do with, for some reason, my computer, like my, my tabs are taking up. Riley, how you doing? I am here. Hey, Socks, how's it going? All right, we're gonna give this one more try. If it doesn't work, then haven't caught one of your streams beside this one. How you been, Riley? Been good. Been doing good. MHA? I don't know what it is, so the answer is probably no. But yeah, I've been doing decent. Oh my fucking god. Why? Are we still here? Are you still here, chat? See, the game is just like, nope. Nah, fam. Well, that's disappointing. Alright, yes, we're just not doing ESO tonight because for some reason my computer is having many of the technical difficulties, which I will have to hash out later. That's extremely unfortunate. But here we are. I'm going to go ahead and change this to just chatting. Well, that sucks. That's disappointing. Listen, you all saw me. I clearly tried. Like, I don't know why my computer is just having a lot of trouble with it. ESO tabletop? Yeah, absolutely. What's wrong with it? That's a good question. I don't know. I wish I could tell you. Like... As an IT... Have you tried turning it off and on again? As an IT professional, that works very often. Nice. Yeah, I don't think we can blame Comcast on this one. This seems to be just something with my computer. Oh, well. Well, hey, I guess we'll just get into the short about gender. But one thing I want to do. Pixie, could you please drop in chat what you showed me earlier, the link from Whipping Girl? That would be incredibly helpful. Because I think that would be cool to read on stream. I feel like that would be a good time. Because there's a really good section from Whipping Girl that talks about internal inclination theory. No, the thing is, Pixie, I actually started ESO before I started streaming. Like, I actually did try that. I mean, I guess I wasn't, like, fully logged in, but the game was on. Yeah. Wait, no, drop it, unless you want people to see our DMs. Drop it into, the stream chat. Or... I mean, I guess you could DM me. Whatever works. DM me on Twitter. That'd probably be best. Ow. Riley, is this an encoding issue? I am law student. I don't know what that means. Explain this to me in accessible, in terms that a law student would understand. All right. When you say that to me, that doesn't register a lot. Fuck, I'm too stupid. It's all good. Well, here. Let's go ahead. Open this up. DM you on Twitter. Nice, thank you. Okay. Name under. Alright, here we go. By the way, let me know if the music is too loud. This is a really good book. Julia Serrano is a trans woman who's also a biologist. You can know the laws of PCs. Nice. When Constance Abbey and I have a question about pronouns, it might be me being stupid. Oh, right now, so like normally, fuck. You might need, like, if we have time at the end of the stream, then if you hold on, then we can try again. Usually I do viewer call-ins specifically when I play ESO, which kind of sucks because ESO is not working. But, yeah, like, we can talk about this, just, like, hang out for a bit. Maybe this will answer the questions, because we're going to be getting into, like, what is gender. So maybe that'll answer the question. And here we are. I'm not sure if that helps me. Nicodemus? I'm not sure if that helps. But you may want to turn your encoding settings down 90K if you're using... Oh shit, maybe. How do I do that? Oh, okay. That works. Okay, well then we'll just address that later. Like, we'll do the video right now. Then we can figure it out more later. Blah. In the last chapter, I stated that recognizing subconscious sex as separate from physical sex is crucial to furthering a better understanding of transsexuality and anti-trans discrimination. There is at least one other aspect of gender that we must come to terms with before we can discuss the entire spectrum of gender and sexual diversity: gender expression, which refers to whether our presentations, behaviors, interests, and or affinities are considered feminine, masculine, or some combination thereof. Gender expression is regularly confused with subconscious sex and or sexual orientation. For example, people often assume that transsexuals transition not to align our physical and subconscious sexes, but because we want to either express either femininity or masculinity. Similarly, it is common for some people to be mistaken for being lesbian or gay simply because they are somewhat masculine as women or feminine as men go, respectively. Unlike our sexual orientation and subconscious sex, which are usually invisible to the rest of the world, other people can readily view our gender expression, making it perhaps the most widely commented on, critiqued, and regulated aspect of gender. Yeah, text. All right, I'm gonna start reading silently, but you can keep along because I'm gonna be like highlighting where I read. Hmm. Yeah, this is kind of, so when I talk about like Pixie gave me this, is the one who brought this idea up to me, but I referenced this the other day that maybe we want to start thinking gender in terms of like having a gender orientation. Because this is kind of what Julia Serrano is getting at right here, right? Unfortunately, a strict social constructionist model does not easily account for exceptional or like non-typical gender expression either. Many girls who are masculine and boys who are feminine show signs of such behavior at a very early age, often before such children have been fully socialized with regards to gender norms, and generally continue to express such behavior into adulthood despite the extreme amount of societal pressure that we place on individuals to reproduce gender expression appropriate for their assigned sex. This strongly suggests that certain expressions of femininity or masculinity represent deep subconscious inclinations in a manner similar to those of sexual orientation and subconscious sex. I use inclination here as a catch-all phrase to describe any persistent desire, affinity, or urge that predisposes us towards particular gender and sexual expressions and experiences. Right? I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, I feel that. Wait, what? Stream's fine for me? YouTube? Oh, YouTube is off? Wait, really? Fam, are you, what's going on? Is me, I'm F? Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay, cool. But yeah, this is just really interesting right here, right? Because, what we're, like, essentially, like, what we can start thinking of gender in terms of is basically, like, the same way that people have sexual orientations, where they have a certain psychology or orientation or whatever term we want to use, whichever is fine. We have a certain like psychology which predisposes us towards certain behaviors, and then society tends to group enough of these behaviors together into certain categories, right? We see this with sexuality. We see the same thing with gender. That seems to be like the baseline idea. Yeah. And this actually goes on really well, right? Well, I believe that such inclinations are likely to be hardwired into our brains, as they exist on subconscious level and often remain constant throughout our lives. I hesitate to define them as purely biological phenomena, as social factors clearly play a strong role in how each individual interprets these inclinations. In fact, in most cases, it's impossible to distinguish our inclinations from our socialization, since they both typically point us in the same direction. Generally, we can only ever notice our inclinations when they are exceptional, when they deviate from both biological and social norms, right? So here it's like, I think I agree with this, right? It's basically the idea that like gender is a complicated thing, and it's in large part influenced by our biology, but it's probably going to be a combination of nature and nurture, right? Like, for example, if you were to drop a trans person in an island away from society and they had no idea what the concept of a skirt was, they're probably not going to want to wear a skirt because they don't know what it is. But they probably will still end up inhabiting certain kinds of expressions that are generally more typical for people of what we would define them as a gender, right? So it's going to be a combination of nature and nurture, but both definitely play a role. This is where Judith Butler stopped. She doesn't account for trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people. If the only factor was socialization, it doesn't make sense why people would go against them. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, the whole reason why trans people and gay people, LGBT people generally, are incredibly exceptional is because since we live in worlds and societies where, let's be real, at the current moment, it's very difficult to be able, you at least adopt an extra intersectional lens, which can make life very hard for you, especially if you live in more conservative and unwelcoming areas of society, right? Hey, Aaron. And so, it really, like, there's a lot of people where, by every reasonable accord, if they were LGBT and they could just choose to stop being that, then they probably would. But we don't observe that, you know? That's why it's really shitty for people who are LGBT who are born into really conservative circumstances. Has anyone in chat, let me ask chat, have any of you read, wait, what's it called? Hold on, I need to find the book. How many of you read Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit? Or Not the Only Fruit? Here, big screen. Boom. Have you read Phantom Tollbooth? No, I have not. So basically, this is a good read. I believe it's a biographical fiction. So basically, it's written from the point of view of someone awesome. It's written from the point of view of someone like someone who eventually finds out that they are lesbian, who grew up in a super uber conservative Baptist church kind of town, right? And it really sucks because the whole book is all about this person trying to repress who they are because it would be more convenient for them because they come from a super conservative, family, town culture where life would be infinitely easier for this person if they could just be straight. But she couldn't because that's not who she was, right? No matter how much she tried, she couldn't just be straight, because she had this orientation that was beyond her own choosing. And if she could have, she probably would just choose to be straight because it would make life a lot easier for her in a lot of respects, but she doesn't because she can't. And that's like the big thing of the whole book, right? I'm pretty sure that the theme is like her mom has in the story her mom has like a really weird thing with oranges where she's told throughout her whole life that oranges are the only fruit that they'll have, or oranges are the only fruit that the mom will buy. And so it's kind of like this idea of like, oh, you're only allowed to do one thing, and that's the one thing that you're allowed to do, right? But then you eventually learn, actually, there's other things you can do, and that's totally fine. Oranges are, in fact, not the only fruit. Just be straight forehead. Yeah, for real. But it's a good book. I read it for my LGBT Biblical Interpretations class. It was good. Good read. Anyway, carrying on. Mm-hmm. Yep. So basically, this is the model that I largely use nowadays, which is the intrinsic inclination. I think that, honestly, like, we could probably have similar, like, I like the idea of just saying gender orientation. You know? Like, that seems like a really solid, like, easy and accessible, and I'm not tanking full credit. Like, again, like, Pixie gave me this idea, which I believe she got from someone else. But it seems like a good way to describe this idea, right? That basically, we have this psychology or something intrinsic to us, caused by a lot of things, but the important thing is beyond our own choosing, which predisposes us towards certain activities, and society generally groups together those activities or those things into what we would conceive of gender, right? I heard about the book years ago from a philosophy tube video, lol. Then why didn't philosophy... maybe I just missed it. I don't know. I feel like this is like the best part of the book, or like one of the best contributions of her work. And I never heard about this until you showed me this, Pixie. Maybe I just missed that part of the video. But like, it's a solid theory. I like it. You heard about it in college? Did you read it in college? It's a real question. Did you do the homework? Yeah, all this is just solid. We're gonna have to be really careful with how we do this, short, because it's gonna be a lot of quote reading. Indeed. Nice. Oh shit. I didn't even remember this. So there's another source that I like talking about, which talks about the idea of like how do we divide up biological sex, but it talks about this here as well. In addition to the variation that exists within the three gender inclinations, there's also additional diversity with regards to physical sex itself. Physical sex can be further divided into multiple separate characteristics: chromosomal sex, gonadal sex, genital sex, hormonal sex, and a host of secondary characteristics. While we like to think of females and males as constituting discrete, mutually exclusive classes, about 2 in 100 born are intersex. Like, that's kind of cool, right? Like, when people ask, like, oh, how are, like, we often talk about this idea of, like, a bimodal distribution, but then people ask, like, wait, how can sex be bimodal? Like, what exactly is being plotted along there? Well, the reason we're able to have a bimodal distribution is because instead of sexing an entire organism, it's more that we're sexing discrete aspects of an organism, right? Which is interesting. I'm sorry, I'm eating popcorn. Hot take, all the lefties saying that LGBT identity is just a choice and it's silly that anyone should choose differently, or just showing their incredible privilege. True, Pixie. Oh my god. I know so many LGBT people who grew up in conservative households who'd pray and self-harm and do drugs to try and make themselves cishet. Yeah, that's the thing, right? All the people saying, oh, you could just choose this, definitely grew up in like a more accepting... Well, I don't want to say definitely, but likely grew up in a pretty accepting household. Was a mother's fixation on oranges treated as some sort of epistemic failure that is somewhat uninformed through our ideology? To some extent, yeah. Like, the mother is treated as, like, a very flawed character in the book, you know? Like, think, like, if you're some flavor of queer, like, think about, like, if you have a parent that isn't accepting of you because they come from a lot of really bad informed opinions, you know? Or mal-informed opinions, right? Like, that general idea. Share with the class. No, it's my popcorn. Mine. Can't have any. So this is cool, right? So there's the vast amount of naturally occurring sexual and gender variation in the world. The question becomes, how do we make sense of it all? This is where social constructs come in. While variation in our sex characteristics and gender inclinations may occur naturally, the way we interpret those traits and the identities and meanings we associate with them can vary significantly from culture to culture. Blah. So this is basically where we get the idea of gender, right? We have these inclinations. These inclinations make us more predisposed to certain types of expressions over others. And then society, dependent on culture, time, etc., generally creates groups for different sets of expressions. Oh, yeah. No, that's probably also accurate, Pixie. Wait, First Amendment. Yep. Yeah, no, I think that works. Not sure if is it First Amendment? Might be First Amendment. Wait, wouldn't the expectation come before the expression? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by expectation coming before expression. Here, basically you begin like, we have a certain psychology. That psychology motivates us towards certain expressions. Then society generally groups those expressions together into different genders. Like that's like steps 1, 2, 3, boom, done. And that's super clean. That makes sense. One, you have inclinations towards certain behaviors. 2, society has created expectations for certain behaviors, gender. 3, you can express yourself by doing certain behaviors in the world with a gender framework. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's what... I get what you're saying, Michael. Maybe? But yeah, I think that Pixie sort of got it. I made a real dinner with real ice cream for dessert from scratch yesterday, and it was mostly palatable, 5 stars. Nice, good job. Good shit. Also, I feel like lefties are super quick to ascribe malice, but gender, while it is restrictive, makes sense. There are some typical behaviors mainstays associated with certain sexes, and human brains reduce things to binaries. The behavioral categories are useful, just restrictive, and don't include everybody. Maybe. Vegan Thrasher. Listen, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. I didn't catch it. But yeah. But no, it's all good. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Julius, hold on. Let's read this. This is interesting. A different view is held by those transgender people who insist that gender itself is entirely constructed. Many feel empowered by this idea because it frees their exceptional gender traits from the social stigma inherent in oppositional sexism. But it oversimplifies the concept of gender by dismissing the possibility that there are any intrinsic inclinations, such as subconscious sex and gender expression, that contribute to our gender identities and gender roles respectively. This sort of thinking, when taken to the extreme, can privilege those who are predisposed towards being bisexual, bigendered, and bisexual. In this scenario, someone who feels comfortable identifying outside the male-female gender binary, expressing combinations of both femininity and masculinity, and/or having sexual relations with both male and female-bodied people, may falsely assume that their bi inclinations represent a natural state that is present in all other people. From this bisexist perspective, people who identify as either male or female, feminine or masculine, homosexual or heterosexual, are assumed to have developed such preferences as a result of being duped by binary gender norms and socialization. This view has also led to the creation of another oppositional binary of sorts, pitting those transgender people who identify outside the gender binary, and who are therefore presumed to challenge gender norms, against transsexuals, who are accused of supporting the gender status quo by transitioning to their identified sex. Such arguments, that bigendered and genderqueer people are more radical and queer than transsexuals, are highly reminiscent of similarly naive accusations made in the past by homosexuals who argued that they were more radical or queer than bisexuals. The creation of such radical/conservative gendered binaries are both self-absorbed and anti-queer, as they dismiss the very real discrimination transsexuals and bisexuals face in favor of establishing pecking orders within the queer community. Oh, damn. Shit. Julia Serrano dropping some base. Yeah, for real. But we kind of observe this, right? Like, there's a lot of people online who want to say, like, who basically want to make themselves out to be like, oh, you, Riley, binary trans woman who's undergone medical transition, you don't have any authority to be able to speak on this subject. I, 10 times, I don't even know how you measure a queerer person, actually have a higher authority on the subject than thou, right? Do trans people insist that all gender is constructed or is constructed being used differently than I'm interpreting? There are some people who do. There are some trans people who say that all gender is socially constructed, but that's kind of what Julia Serrano is responding to here, you know? The omniqueer has the most authority, yeah, basically. Michael, don't wall of text. Like if you have inclinations towards certain behaviors, society has created expectations for certain behaviors. You can express yourself by doing certain behaviors in the world with a gender framework. Then you start to see a sense of gender orientation and perform to subscribe to socially to that role. This fits with the idea that you don't choose your gender, only the expression thereof and how you subscribe to your gender. Whereas if you have inclinations towards certain behaviors, express yourself by doing those behaviors. Society then tells you which group you belong to based on those behaviors. The society determines your gender based on your orientation and behavior descriptively. Is that the case? You're fine. I'm trying to understand the nuance here. Thus, society determines your gender based on your orientation and behavior descriptively. Isn't that... I want to push back. Isn't that kind of how it works? Like when you see someone walking down the street, usually this is what happens when you assume someone's gender, right? To the extent that people do. Is that like when you see someone walking down the street and they're acting in a certain way, kind of look at that person and the totality of their expressions, and then you make a value judgment about whether or not, like, what gender they are. Like, that usually, I'll be honest, Michael did well with paragraph spacing and much more capable of walls than this. Okay, you know what? That's fair. Like, this wasn't terrible. So, Michael, like, don't feel too bad. Like, I read through it. Yeah, it's fine. It's just, like, anytime that someone posts a message where it's just, like, the entire chat, I'm just like, you know, but, like, that's, I think this is, like, reasonable. But, yeah, isn't that kind of what happens when we, like, gender someone as we walk by them? It's like, someone acts a certain way, and then we see them as other people in society. And then as we see other people, we make kind of judgments about what gender they are based on how they're acting. Like, that seems to kind of be how gender usually works in the social context, you know? Or would you disagree with that? Basically, at the start of humanity, people acted the way as they wanted, and gender as a descriptive construct was formed. So, like, a man was a descriptor of the behavior as a super early biological male. And since that category has been reinforced and prescribed to babies, even before they get the chance to figure out this, like, yeah, I think that's true, right? Like, it seems to be the case that gender is usually prescribed descriptively based on kind of these categories that we all kind of have in our heads. Okay. Like, I know that Pixie has brought this up before. The idea of, like, prototype and exemplar theory. Like, a lot of us probably have, like, this idea in the back of our minds of what, like, the, what the idea of, like, what is a man and what is a woman, right? And we kind of measure a lot of other people against whatever that image we have in our head is. Yes, but it's more complicated because there are people who don't always treat a man or a woman the exact same way as the next person, but I think generally speaking this otherwise sounds right. Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of like, that goes to the socially constructed, like, sense of these categories, right? Like, people aren't always going to, like, recognize the exact same, like, not everyone is going to treat men, women, and other genders the exact same. But when we can make an appeal to larger society, we usually get, like, trends, right? This is why usually I'll make an appeal to the average reasonable person. You know, if we're making an appeal to, like, the average reasonable person in, like, a state or a country, most of them are going to generally treat different genders of people about the same, right? Yeah, think of the ideal example of what a man is. Basically the pure gender role. No one fits it. Yeah, that's the Giga Chad meme, right? Like, there's no single, like, or actually, you know, the Giga Chad I'm pretty sure that person actually exists, but, like, just because that person exists and that's, like, our idea of, like, what the most manly man is, that doesn't mean, Santa, god damn it, that doesn't mean that that no person that's not a Giga Chad is not a man, right? You know? The Platonic form of man. RJ, you're using philosophy terms. You better translate that into fucking English. But I assume, yeah. How is this different from Platonic forms? I don't know what Platonic forms is. Translate. Make English for small Riley brain. All right? I'm sure everyone here is super awesome, but Jamie is my new favorite for taking time to answer my super easy question, never making me feel sick. That's awesome. Thank you, Jamie. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much. That's super fucking based. More of that shit, all right? Platonic form, the ideal form. Platonic form of a tree is a pure ideal, which all actual trees participate in to be trees. Yeah, that sounds pretty similar to the idea that we're getting at. Yeah, so this is just very interesting because Julia Serrano right here is throwing some shade, all right? Would you say that there's sort of a tug of war between how society sees you and how you see yourself? Yeah, totally. When I go outside, I am fighting against society for them to treat me as a woman, all right? You know, there's a tug of war there because they have certain kinds of expectations, and I am going to try to the best of my ability to meet those expectations so that society treats me consistent with the gender that I want to be treated as. Now, we can move society, we can change society so they have different expectations for what is gender. I've always used this example, and I really like it, because that's kind of what we have in Discord, right? Like, when you're in a Discord, the only sufficient criteria that you have to meet to be treated consistent with a certain gender is to pick up a pronoun role, right? Like, that's the only sufficient criteria that we have in Discord, right? And so, like, now, there are other things, like, if the world were just like Discord, where you could just, like, put on a pronoun pin and people would start treating you consistent with the gender that's aligned with that pronoun, I would probably still pursue medical transition, right? Because I have internal inclinations I still want to appeal to, right? People can still misgender you in public without knowing you, maybe? But yeah, like, but the whole idea is that, like, you know, while we can move this, like, I do, like, there's this idea in society generally of, like, what is gender? What are the sufficient criteria for most people? And, you know, I try to meet them. Challenge for gender me? It. That's what I'm going with this time. Its pronouns. Oh yeah, no problem, Ray. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Well, hey, that's super awesome. Thank you for dropping by. And stick around, you know? Socks, no. Yeah, what's your take on its pronouns some people have on Twitter? I think it's fine. I haven't thought through it a lot. I don't know. Like, if we assume that, like, so, taking, like, what we just talked about with gender, people have certain internal inclinations towards certain behaviors that society generally groups together. You know, like, some people might not feel that their internal inclinations lend them to a stereotypically, like, masculine or feminine gender, right? So maybe they settle on its because there's like, oh, there's no gender that actually fits me. This seems like a better fit. It seems to make sense. Gender envy of a drawing you did yourself as a bitch. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can see that. But yeah. Anyway. Read through a little bit more of this. We only have a little bit left. Oh shit, she keeps going. These examples demonstrate how gender theories designed to free people from gender-related stigma or oppression can often inadvertently marginalize other sexual minorities, or even worse, create new gender hierarchies that are just as oppressive as the initial system. There are several telltale signs of flawed gender theories. First, we should all be aware of any gender theory that makes the assumption that there is any one right or natural way to be gendered or to be sexual. Such theories are typically narcissistic in nature, as they merely reveal their designer's desire to cast themselves on top of the gender hierarchy. Further, if one presumes that there's only one right or natural way to be gendered, then the only way to explain why some people display typical gender and sexual traits while others display exceptional ones is by surmising that one of those groups is being intentionally led astray somehow. Indeed, this is exactly what the religious right argues when they invent stories about homosexuals who actively try to recruit young children via the gay agenda. Ooh. Those who claim that we are all born with bisexual, androgynous, or gender-neutral tendencies only be molded into heterosexual masculine men and feminine women via socialization and gender norms use a similar strategy. Interesting. I'm starting to come around to the gauge, and the TBH seems pretty based. I'll let y'all make that determination. Okay. For example, say you have a society where women wear skirts and men never do. If we take the first order, then you have a propensity to see yourself as a man, regardless of your assigned birth gender. You see that in society. That society has assumed that women wear skirts, whereas men never do. Therefore, you express yourself to fit that role in society and start wearing skirts. It's interesting. I see what you're kind of saying there. So, like, I guess what I wonder, because there are, like, examples of lots of kids. I did not do this because I remember as a kid, I was very specifically, like, always hyper-focused on making sure that I give as few signs as possible. But we have some studies where it's, like, incredibly young children, I think it's like as young as a couple months, have certain propensities towards certain kinds of toys and modes of play, right? And so it seems to be the case that, like, if we're beginning with the idea, like it seems to be the case that it's probably more likely to be the second option. I mean, like, I think that there are some instances where the first can be true, you know? Like, there might be some things that I don't do, not because I don't care about them as much, but because, or not because I care about them particularly, but because I know that there are things that are typically expected of men, so I don't do them, because I don't want to fit into that category. She-Ra is good, right? But also, it seems to be the case. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of people, like, there's a lot of trans girls out there, like, it's a whole meme, right? Where they're like, oh, skirt goes spinny. Men would have a better time in skirts, though, too. Yeah, that is true. Gotta get that kilt game on. I think that either can be true. Like, I don't think that these are necessarily mutually exclusive. I don't think so. I don't remember a pet lion. Is She-Ra a very kiddie show? I think it's pretty good. It's also, like, it can appeal to, like, I watched it recently. I enjoyed it. Yeah, let me think through this more. So yeah, I think that both of these are generally true, right? But I think that, like, the descriptive aspect probably happens in people's heads before the second part of it, right? So, like, let's begin with, like, step one. We say that, here. Let's map this out a little bit. One, you have inclinations. I guess that the society grouping can happen there. Actually, yeah, like, so Pixies works pretty well. And then, so you can express yourself by doing certain behaviors in the world. Maybe you can let's have, you can satisfy. That seems to be how it is, right? You have inclinations towards certain behaviors. Society has created expectations for certain behaviors, we would call gender. And by satisfying your inclinations towards certain behaviors, society will generally ascribe you a set of expectations, right? That seems to be like premise, conclusion. Like you can determine the label of your gender orientation based on society, but then choose to express yourself in a way that reinforces that behavior. It seems to be more the case that, like, we begin with, there are things I like to do. Society has grouped together certain behaviors, some of which I like to do. So I'm going to go with the grouping that has the most of the things that I want to do. Oh, sorry. Does that make sense? It's like, I like to do things. Society has grouped together groups for some of those groups having a lot of the things that I like to do. So I'm generally going to ascribe to the group that has the most of the things that I like to do. Right? That seems to be the idea. And so then, even if there are some things generally ascribed to a certain group. So yeah, so that's the idea, right? So basically it's like, so 1, you have inclinations towards certain behaviors. 2, society has created expectations for certain behaviors. 3, by satisfying your inclinations towards certain behaviors, society will generally ascribe you a set of expectations. And 4, so even if there are certain things generally ascribed to the group that best satisfies my preferences, which I don't particularly have interest towards one way or another, I may still act consistent with the category, right? Like, I don't know, like one example is like what's like a part of womanhood that I act out but I don't particularly care a lot about? Wearing jewelry, right? Or like doing makeup, you know? I don't really care about like doing a lot of makeup, you know? Like, it's something I could live without. Like, I'm not wearing makeup right now. I don't really care. I'll do it sometimes because I know it's expected of the category, and so I'll do it because I know it's consistent with the category. But that's really the main reason I'm doing it. Otherwise, like, I don't really care that much for makeup, you know? When I'm older, I want to do that. I will ascend to the Futch Academia Silver Vixen Gray. Well, hey, how are you? 100% makes sense? Okay, cool. Yeah, chill. But yeah, I feel pretty good. All right, 9:18, and we still have plenty of time. So, I feel like we're in a solid spot. Oh, let's finish up. Let's finish reading the chapter. So we're almost there. Yeah, this is the other thing, right? Is that it talks about, like, gender is complex, right? So we can't have, like, a super simple definition. I feel like we have an understanding which captures a lot of the complexity with gender. RGR, so you think the preferences for certain behaviors are first and then integration in gender category comes after? I think so, right? Because basically, like, I think that's essentially what happens when we subconsciously gender people in society, right? Basically, both steps are true at different times, and this is achieved. I think so, yeah. But like when you see someone walking down the street, most of us instinctively, like almost instantly gender someone, right? What's happening there? You know, like the appeal that's kind of happening in our head is that we look at someone where we're thinking like, all right, what expressions are they making right now that matches up with my predetermined categories in my head? Or I say predetermined, my socially determined categories of gender in my head, right? And then we make like a split-second evaluation. Sometimes we're not able to make one because people don't fit the categories that we have in our head. Sometimes we end up making miscalculations. But generally speaking, it begins with people like to do certain things. They do the things that they like. Other people interpret the things that they do. And then if they want to, those people can then, recognizing that there are categories in society that they fit into, can choose to adopt more or less of the things which are generally expected of the category that they best fit into, you know? Like that seems to be like steps, like all the steps in it. Hegel would be proud. Nice. E. Because we are active social agents, we do gender insofar as we perform our practice or practice gender. Thus, we can undo gender by upsetting the gender binaries that are established and grounded within social differences based on social location. We gender people, though. We gender people based upon both our unique position as well as through how we ourselves are represented. Sure, I don't think I disagree with that. Neat. All right, I'm gonna take a small break. I don't know, I'm gonna go get like a drink or something. So I'll be back. Chat, entertain yourselves for a second, but I think we have everything that we need to write a damn good script and record and edit together a video, and it'll be good. So, be right back. TikTok got me hooked on Backyardigans music. Yeah, that happens. My name's Dulcie with 2 eyes. There are so many songs I'm addicted to on there. I never got into TikTok. I feel like such an old man. Honestly, I'm enjoying TikTok a lot more nowadays than I'm enjoying YouTube, to be perfectly honest. Maybe it's just because I'm subscribed to a lot of political people on YouTube, and it gets tiring. And I like being able to just kind of unplug and watch good empty content. But like, I don't know, TikTok has been fucking great for me. It is really accurate, yeah. Not sure how I feel about using it IRL, though. Because, like, the kind of scary thing about TikTok is that there's an entire conservative part of TikTok that you'll never be shown if you're, like, more progressive. And so it's like... yeah. And it's like, it's kind of hard because, like, you just don't see it if you don't watch that kind of content, you know? Kind of like, and I at least personally like being able to at least kind of know what they're up to, you know? Because I want to make sure that they're not, like, spreading arguments I'm not ambushed with at some point that I'm not prepared for. Like, I like knowing what the opposition is doing. Or I could be right. They could be. But often it's more so the case that they spread a particular argument that requires, like, an entire entry levels course of sociology to be able to debunk, as opposed to actually being a good argument. God damn it, Pixie. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's mostly just abortion debates. Really. It's interesting. That's actually really interesting. Huh. Okay. All right. Let's talk about what is gender. Previously, I've made OMG, I love this topic. Have a trans sale? Nice. Good shit. Wait, that's gonna be a yikes? Wait, what are we talking about? It's okay, they're all virgins, it doesn't matter. Oh, shit! Oh my god. Y'all are great. Num num. Previously, I made videos talking about the psychological and social aspects of gender. Talking about both the psychological and the social aspects of gender. Talking about both. What's important to note here? These actually are not contradictory. Well, you might assume otherwise. These actually are not contradictory. Let me think about this. TikTok abortion debates remind me of Destiny's disclosure genitals before having sex discourse. Everyone actually having sex already worked out. Everyone actually having sex already worked that one out already. LMAO. Oh my god. Yeah, I need some help brainstorming a thing for an action group. Oh yeah. Asking. Oh damn. Yeah, no. Zitch, recruit the server to help you. You have my blessing. Go forth. I mean, I basically relied on my social media platform for all the help setting up the panel that I had before. The one on social media influence. Because no one at my school actually replied with any good questions to ask the panel. But it ended up working out because y'all ask good questions. Thank you all for doing better than the people who I go to fucking law school with. What probably amounted to be the biggest panel that my law school has ever done. It's really weird to think, right? Like, I can't believe one person from my law school didn't turn out, and there were probably like over 3,000 people watching. Easy. Easy 3K, you know? Ooh, whatever. Be smart out here in chat. Nice. Good shit. Well, there you go. Too busy studying? No. I think that some of them have work, but it was during the summer. School was over. Yeah. Didn't you hear the news? Pride has announced it refuses to be over. Pride for life. God damn it. Gay pride is over. Time for gay wrath. I love those jokes. Those are good jokes. Yeah, now that Pride Month is over, it's time for me to make a new PFP and banner and stuff, I think. Nice. Go for it. Basically, what this is saying is we can think of gender much in the same way we think of sexual orientation. You have certain inclinations towards certain behaviors. Beyond your own choosing. Society creates groups of expectations for certain behavior, which we call gender. By satisfying your inclinations towards certain behaviors, society will generally ascribe you a gender. So, let's talk about what is gender. Previously, I made videos talking about both the psychological and social aspects of gender. While you might assume otherwise, these are actually not contradictory. In her book, The Whipping Girl, Julia Serrano, a trans woman with a thorough background in genetic biology, discusses a theory of gender as appealing to intrinsic inclinations in response to people making it out to be either all social or all biology. Her model states that 1. Subconscious sex, gender expression, and sexual orientation represent separate gender inclinations that are determined largely independent of one another. 2. These gender inclinations are, to some extent, intrinsic to our persons, as they occur on a deep subconscious level, and generally remain intact despite social influences and conscious attempts by individuals to purge, repress, or ignore them. 3. Because no single genetic, anatomical, hormonal, environmental, or psychological factor has ever been found to directly cause any of these gender inclinations, we can assume that they are quantitative traits, i.e. We can assume that they're quantitative traits, and as a result, rather than producing discrete classes, each inclination shows a continuous range of possible outcomes. And 4, each of these inclinations roughly correlate with a physical sex, resulting in the bimodal distribution pattern, similar to what's seen in gender differences such as height. Basically, what this is saying is we can think of gender much in the same way that we think of sexual orientation. You have inclinations towards certain behaviors beyond your own choosing. Society creates groups of expectations for certain behavior, which we call gender. Therefore, by satisfying your inclinations towards certain behaviors, society will generally ascribe you a gender. Hey there. Anyway. Let me think about what we say here. Basically, what this is saying, we can think of gender much in the same way that we think of sexual orientation. You have inclinations towards certain behaviors beyond your own choosing. We each have complicated psychologies which predispose us towards certain behaviors beyond our own choosing. Society creates groups of expectations for certain behavior, which we can call gender. Therefore, we can... So, we can satisfy our inclinations towards certain behaviors. Basically, what this is saying is that we can think of gender much in the same way we think of sexual orientation. First, we have complicated psychologies that predispose us towards certain behaviors beyond our own choosing. Therefore, academic literature defines gender in terms of one psychological predisposition towards certain expressions. 2, yeah. Therefore, academic literature defines gender in terms of one psychological predisposition towards certain expressions, and 2, the average reasonable person's interpretation and categorization of those expressions into a socially constructed group. Boom. Or grouping. Into a socially constructed grouping. That seems to be it. E. Basically, what this is saying is we can think of gender much in the same way that we think of sexual orientation.